Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, the midterm election is coming down to only a handful of races still undecided. We'll give you the updates coming up. Lexington residents have long called for an expansion of the city's cemeteries, and they might finally get it. And learn more about the Walker Program, the nonprofit that's been making local entrepreneurs' dreams come true. We'll also be joined by Josh Darrow, who will share our local weekend weather forecast, which might be affected by Tropical Storm Nicole that struck Florida and is moving northeast. All that and more next on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Jenny Helwig.
And I'm Caitlin Tompkins. Coming out of the midterm elections, the balance of power in Washington is hanging in the balance, with some key races still left unsettled. Democrats are breathing a sigh of relief as an anticipated red wave has not materialized. CNN's Isabel Rosales breaks down the crucial races still up in the air, as well as some of the bigger surprises the election delivered.
We are thrilled at the unexpected high turnout.
Voters showing up at the polls and making their voices heard. Election day is over, but key races remain uncalled as the balance of power in the Senate rests in the hands of a few swing states. A stronger than expected showing for Democrats, blocking a so-called red wave.
Democrats had a strong night, and we lost fewer seats in the House of Representatives than any Democratic president's first midterm election in the last 40 years.
Still, Republicans remain cautiously optimistic about winning control of the House.
The American people are ready for a majority that will offer a new direction.
Despite the battle for control of Congress remaining unsettled, a big boost for Democrats in battleground Pennsylvania. Democrat John Fetterman defeating Republican Mehmet Oz, a Trump-endorsed candidate, in their race for Senate.
I never expected that we were going to turn these red counties blue, but we did what we needed to do.
And a significant win for Republicans in the Sunshine State. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis delivering historic margins in key Democratic territory like Miami-Dade County.
The people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
The critical Senate race in Georgia projected to go to a runoff on December 6th. The showdown between Republican Herschel Walker and incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock may be key to determine which party is in control. On Capitol Hill, I'm Isabel Rosales.
And now, let's look at some updated local results from the races we were watching closely Tuesday night.
First, we're going to take a look at the 6th District U.S. House of Representatives race. We have some updated results. Ben Cline won the seat with 64.6% of the vote expected. He was the incumbent, and that was to Jennifer Lewis's share of the vote, which is 35.2%, and that's 301 of precincts of 323 reporting, which means we have pretty solid results out of this district.
Looking more closely, Ben Cline has taken Buena Vista with 71% of the votes, as opposed to Jennifer Lewis's 28.5% of the votes. This is with 4 of the 5 precincts reporting.
Lewis did much better in Lexington City, taking 64.7% of the vote to Ben Cline's 34.7% of the vote, with 3 out of 4 precincts reporting, but that was not enough to make up for her losses overall.
Back to Rockbridge County, Ben Cline has taken the vote 67%, with Jennifer Lewis's only 32.7%, and this is with 19 precincts reporting of the 20.
Democrats took the lead in Virginia's U.S. House race on Tuesday night. Democrats will represent 6 of the 11 districts in Virginia, including widely contested Districts 7 and 10. Republicans will hold the remaining 5 seats. That's a 1-seat gain for Republicans this year.
Here are the Lexington City Council race results. Charles Smith took 30.8% of the votes, whereas David Sigler took 29.9% of the votes. This is 3 of the 4 precincts reporting.
Next up, we have Nicholas Betts, who took 26.8% of the vote, securing a spot on the Lexington City Council, and Colette Berry-Reck with 11.1% of the vote, which means she did not secure a spot on the council because we had 4 candidates running for 3 seats.
Lexington voters passed a referendum to elect Lexington City School Board members beginning in 2024. Most voters were in favor of changing the school board selection method, with 62.88% voting yes on the referendum.
Lexington voters will elect the next Lexington City School Board members, but they'll have to wait until 2024. Virginia was the last state to switch from appointed school boards, which was a remnant of segregation. We asked our reporter Lily Mott some questions about the referendum, including why it ended up on the ballot in the first place.
The referendum was on the ballot this year following parents' concerns over the coronavirus pandemic. They didn't think that the school board handled it with enough parent input, and so they wanted just more input from the community. So of course then a petition was made, and then the referendum ended up on the ballot this year. And it was kind of a long time coming because Lexington was one of the last school boards in Virginia that was still appointed. And so Lexington joins Rockbridge County and Buena Vista in being elected now. And there still are a handful of Virginia school boards that are still appointed, but Lexington was among the last. So this was a long time coming as far as the historical legacy of that.
And what were the referendum results?
So nearly 2/3 of Lexington voters actually voted yes, which was a surprise to some of the people that I talked to for my story. One of my sources actually predicted a 49-51 result. He predicted it to be much closer, but nearly 2/3 of people voted yes. So yeah, it was a surprise to people, but the yeses had it.
And what's up next for the school board?
So the results will be gradual. There's kind of a gradual process to convert the school board to an elected board. So in 2024, there will actually be 3 seats that are replaced. So everyone will be able to vote for 3 seats come 2024, and they'll actually take office in 2025. And then the remaining 3 seats will be up for election in 2026. So it'll be a gradual replacement process, and everyone will ease into it. So it won't be right away, and it won't be on the ballot next year, but the year after.
Thank you, Lily. You can read Lily's full story on our website, rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, the long-awaited expansion of the Oak Grove Cemetery might be underway, and neighbors are hoping to make it happen.
Rockbridge area residents won't need to drive all the way to Fishersville or Roanoke anymore to visit a forensic center, since one is coming to Rockbridge.
Overcast skies today. What does that mean for the weekend? Your 5-day forecast and more coming up.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. A new forensic center in Rockbridge County will soon provide medical exams and evidence collection for victims of domestic and sexual assault. Augusta Health is partnering with Project Horizon to open their new forensic nursing center by the end of the year. Visit www.rockbridgereport.com to read Adam Lamberti's full story.
Lexington residents have long called for an expansion of the city's cemeteries. Now, City Council has found a creative way to expand them by buying back portions of neighboring residents' properties. Shauna Muckle reports live from Evergreen Cemetery.
I'm standing inside Evergreen Cemetery, which is set to expand by 2 acres. Lexington has found a way to expand both of its cemeteries, Oak Grove and Evergreen, by buying back portions of adjacent residents' properties. The total cost $266,000. It has 2 burial grounds, Oak Grove Cemetery and the historically black Evergreen Cemetery. City Council last Thursday agreed to purchase nearly half an acre of property from residents' backyards at 14 and 16 Houston Street. Those plots of land will provide decades of interment space at Oak Grove. Of course, buying back property means the city will lose real estate tax revenue, but Lexington city manager said he isn't concerned.
That property there has probably very limited value in a residential setting. The homes that are there on Houston Street are fairly substantial. The yards were very deep. We're taking the rear portion of people's yards. There's no access, so they couldn't sell it for any other purpose.
Evergreen Cemetery will see a bigger addition. The owner of 140 Evergreen Place agreed to sell the city his entire 2-acre property. The city will receive a large plot of dense woods from owner John Knox, who's leaving Lexington. But it could be as much as 20 years before the city starts to develop the Evergreen parcel.
That would probably have hundreds of grave sites. We're not going to need hundreds of grave sites in the next decade.
City Council approved the purchase of the properties without much fanfare last week. The total cost will be $26,000 for Oak Grove Cemetery and $240,000 for the Evergreen Cemetery expansion. Trina Welsheimer, a member of the city's Cemetery Advisory Board, said Lexington has long needed to expand its burial grounds.
You know, for our city to be kind of running out of spaces and unable to accommodate the wishes and needs going forward would be, you know, really a very unfortunate situation.
Hallis said there's no set timeline for the cemetery expansion. The city is currently closing with all 3 property owners. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Shauna Muckle.
Thank you, Shauna.
Rockbridge County mental health facilities must adapt services to deal with staff shortages and increased demands for counseling and other services. Rockbridge Area Community Services has scaled back or eliminated some programs altogether. Crillian Clinic is treating some psychiatric patients in the emergency room because mental health facilities lack enough staff and space. Read Carly Snyder's full story on our website.
Coming up after the break. The Walker program has helped launch 35 businesses in the Rockbridge area and is still hard at work.
WNBA star Brittany Griner is now stuck in a penal colony in Russia, but President Biden is advocating for her release now that the midterm elections are over.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report.
We have an update on the Goshen mayor results. It looks like we have Thomas McCraw is taking the position of mayor in Goshen with 65.9% of the vote, compared to the write-in, which only received 34% of the vote.
Now next, for Goshen Town Council, we have a write-in, Michael Hicks and David Robertson, with the write-in taking 33.2% of the votes, Michael Hicks taking 27.9% of the votes, and David Robertson taking 21.9% of the votes. This is with only 2 of the 4 precincts reporting.
Next up, we have Glasgow Town Council. We have Marcy Hill with 37.9% of the vote, Natalie Harris with 34.2% of the vote, and the write-in with 27.8% of the vote. There are 3 spots open, so these are the 3 that will receive these positions.
The Walker program is diversifying the retail landscape in Lexington, Rockbridge County, and Buena Vista. The nonprofit has 1 paid employee, but relies on volunteers from Lexington and the surrounding area. Tyler Policia reports on how the program has helped dozens of entrepreneurs pursue their dreams.
The Walker program is a Lexington-based nonprofit that promotes Black-owned businesses in the area. Red Hen owner Stephanie Wilkinson was inspired to co-found the program after the murder of George Floyd in the spring of 2020.
There was a lot of energy in this community to try to figure out what we could do to repair locally some of the damage that has been done over the years.
The program offers 8 to 10 weeks worth of free training to its entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs receive expert consultation from other business owners as well as professors from VMI, WNL, and Southern Virginia University.
So we're starting out, what is your idea? How can we better hone in on what this idea is? Then we're transitioning into market research and identifying who your customer is. Then assessing what the financial projections may be for this business.
Dina McIntosh owns an organic hair and skin product business called Manaveda. She says that the success of her business in the past year would not have been possible without the Walker program's help.
The look of my business now is nothing compared to how it was. I actually look professional. My website looks professional. I'm incorporated.
The Walker program has even partnered McIntosh with Grace Episcopal Church in Lexington. She's able to use the church's large kitchen to make her products. Tuck Barrefind, the church's minister, said that the Walker program aligns with his church's mission to support equity.
The goal is not to create a separate stream of community, but is to honor and support people who have actually been spent years overcoming obstacles.
The Walker program has trained 35 business owners. It has provided grant funding to 15 of its graduates. All 15 of those businesses are still running. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Tyler Policia.
Florida still hasn't been able to recover from Hurricane Ian, and then Tropical Storm Nicole bashed through the state too.
Let's see if the East Coast will be getting any of the remnants next week.
Yeah, that's right, Caitlin. We will be seeing some of the remnants of Tropical Storm Nicole as it moves up the East Coast. Right now we have a live shot of Evergreen Cemetery here in Rockbridge County, and we can see some pretty overcast skies. Definitely a sign of what's to come this weekend. We're going to be seeing some nasty weather. Right now, we've settled into some pretty fall weather. We're looking at current conditions. A high of 64 degrees today and a low of 54. Barometric pressure is still relatively high at 30 inches, but that humidity number, 64%, is what we're going to be seeing drastically increasing over the next 24 to 36 hours. Looking at our radar, we can see that Tropical Storm Nicole is starting to move up into our area. It's currently, bands are sitting near Charlotte, North Carolina, but it will be moving north into our area in the next 36 hours or so. Looking around town, we're seeing that every city in Western Virginia is experiencing these cloudy, overcast skies. We're looking at 67 degrees and cloudy in Charlottesville, 60 up in Stanton, and 63 here in Lexington and Buena Vista. Looking further west, we can see 55 degrees in Covington, and a little bit warmer out in Roanoke, 62 degrees and cloudy. Looking ahead into the weekend and starting next week, we can see Friday we are going to be getting a lot of that tropical storm weather, and so it's going to be kind of warm, high of 68, low of 54 degrees, but for sure rainy. We'll clear up into the weekend with a high of 68 on Saturday and a high of 62 on Sunday, lows of 32 degrees, and we'll be cooling back down as we enter next week, a high of 48 on Monday and Tuesday with lows of 22 and 24 degrees. That's it for your weather. Back to you all.
Thanks, Josh. Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, Washington and Lee women's soccer got a new head coach in June and had the longest undefeated streak to open a season in program history. We'll show you how a recent loss has not hurt the program.
And learn about the discovery of the world's oldest sentence. You won't believe what it says.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Jenny Helwig.
I'm Caitlin Tompkins.
And I'm John Wallace with the most recent happenings in the sports world. The White House is urging Russia to improve WNBA star Brittany Griner's treatment and conditions as she's being transferred from a pretrial detention facility to a penal colony where she is due to serve the remainder of a 9-year drug smuggling sentence that was upheld in late October. President Biden released a statement early yesterday morning that also included renewed accusations that Russia are not negotiating in good faith of Griner's return.
My guess is, my hope is that now that the election is over, that Mr. Putin will be able to discuss with us and be willing to talk more seriously about prisoner exchange. That is my intention. My intention is to get her home.
Russian penal colonies are known for their lack of hygiene and access to medical care, with inmates often subjected to manual labor. Griner's representatives confirmed they do not know where she is at this time or of her current condition. Moving on to local sports, Washington and Lee women's soccer lost the ODAC semifinals to Virginia Wesleyan University 2-1. Going into the game, the Generals had the longest undefeated streak to open a season in program history. This loss brings their overall record to 14-1-5. Mackenzie Kane spoke to Tiffany Penns, head coach of the women's soccer team.
Good afternoon, Rockbridge. I'm here on Watt Field where the Generals women's soccer team unfortunately fell 2-1 to the Virginia Wesleyan Marlins. I'm joined here today by Coach Penns. First off, congratulations on an extremely successful season. We had the longest undefeated streak to open a season in program history. Can you tell me, if you had to describe this year in one word, what would it be and why?
Yeah, that's commitment. To be honest, they've committed to not only each other, but this new leadership and really trying to find a way of, the direction that the program's going. They had a tremendous leader that was, here for quite some time. So there was a lot of change this year, and they committed to this process the entire year and really to the things that our coaching staff wanted to implement.
And I know at this position we're in right now, the team's currently looking for an at-large bid to move forward farther into the season, into this post-game. What's the mindset right now?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we're disappointed. For about 70 minutes of that game, we completely dominated. And so to not come out on top, but that's the game of soccer. You got to score more goals than the other team. It doesn't actually matter how much you have the ball. So for us right now, we're just going to let us be disappointed and sad for the night and then hope for the best, that the things that they've done all year will show to the NCAA that we deserve to be playing next week, because honestly, this group of young women, they do.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on such a successful season and best of luck moving forward. And signing off with the Rockbridge Report, I'm Mackenzie Kane.
Other Washington and Lee sports teams have been doing pretty well too. Washington and Lee field hockey defeated Ohio Wesleyan in a 3-1 victory yesterday, which earned field hockey coach Wills her 100th win at WNL in the first round of the 2022 NCAA tournament. Washington and Lee men's soccer team triumphed over Roanoke College 2-1. But Generals football fell to Bridgewater in a 13-6 loss. It hasn't been a very good week for VMI sports. The VMI men's basketball team fell to Richmond Monday in a 69-48 loss. The men's soccer team also suffered a 2-1 loss against Mercer last Friday. But VMI wrestling has been on an upward spiral, enrolled to a 53-0 victory over visiting Southern Virginia University last week in the opening match of the season. Moving on to Southern Virginia University sports, which have been doing rather well, SVU women's basketball defeated Randolph-Macon in a 74-56 win on Tuesday. SVU wrestling also triumphed over Patrick and Henry Community College in a 51-3 win. And SVU women's volleyball defeated William Peace University 3-0, and they are playing again this afternoon against Carnegie Mellon. Not much is happening in the world of high school sports, but Rockbridge County High School football fell to Turner Ashby High School in a 35-14 loss, finishing their regular season on a loss. High school teams will begin their winter sports competitions next week. That's a look at our local sports from the area. Now back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, John. And now, the fascinating discovery of an ancient comb reveals not only the earliest known sentence text, but an age-old frustration with head lice. CNN's Jeremy Roth has the bizarre story.
A fascinating dug-up discovery made in Israel has revealed the earliest known sentence ever written in an alphabet, and that sentence is, "May this tusk root out the lice of the hair and the beard." Yep, a recent archaeological study revealed a 3,700-year-old ancient comb was found at a dig site in Lachish, Israel, inscribed with the early language of Canaanite. Experts say fragments of this language have been found on other discoveries, but the ancient comb discovery and its translated prayer for clean hair is being called unprecedented, not only for being the first full alphabet-based sentence, but also for being a personal sentiment described as, quote, something very human. Archaeologists combing through Italian ruins are also fawning over a recent discovery of 24 beautifully preserved bronze statues dating back to ancient Roman times. The discovery was made in thermal baths in a hilltop town in Tuscany. A top culture ministry official is calling the remarkably well-preserved statues one of the most significant finds in the history of the ancient Mediterranean.
Happy birthday.
Finally, watch an Iowa birthday girl make history of her own by officially becoming the oldest person in the United States. That's according to the Gerontology Research Group, which says not only is Bessie Hendricks America's oldest living citizen at the age of 115, she's the fourth oldest person living in the world. But it's her family, her children say, that is Bessie's greatest achievement.
She's always caring about her family. Family came first, Mom, always.
For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
And that's all for today's Rockbridge Report. Stay up to date on more national and regional news by visiting rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
And join us again next Tuesday for our weekly news update.